Captain Collin Nash.
Hey man, how are you doing?
Great seeing you in the virtual flesh. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, pal?
Good, man. A guitar icon in the making. That's how I see you now, Colin. Honestly, musician extraordinaire. I mean, wait till people get a hold of your name. I mean, a shredding machine. Man, you're just so great to see perform, and it's an honor to have you at this stage in your career on the show, Colin.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be on it, man. I've been since I met you. I've been watching some of the episodes on YouTube, and the Ron Pope one was so cool. That was such a throwback to a time in my life. I loved that. So it's
Was it?
very
Was it?
cool.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's
he
cool.
was he was like kind of one of those guys that when I first started getting into the craft of songwriting,
Yeah,
when I was like 15 or 16, he was one of those dudes. I was just like, he talks about drop in the ocean being the one. And I always loved that song. And he had just a slew of other songs that me and my girlfriend at the time used to just
yeah.
play in the car. And yeah.
I love that. Love to hear that, man. And your debut single, I mean, this alone, I mean, I won't give up on you. It's absolutely wonderful. And if that's the first taste, man, we can't wait for what's next. And but yeah, man, I mean, makes us want to go through like a wall. You know what I mean? Like just the way you shred that guitar, like that's how I would describe it.
Oh, thank you so much. That we were hoping we were like looking through the track list, and
Yeah,
that was one of the newer ones that we had that we were the most excited about. And thought, well, that'd be a good one to hit people with first because that's a good sum of what I think the entire record is, which is just that true blue rock and roll sort of thing.
yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely good call on that. And let me just give my audience here a quick sample of this. Look at this. Straight to your blood, brother. Anyway, thanks for indulging us, man. You know,
Oh, hey, thank you, man. I'm
but
glad
yeah.
that you're excited about it.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, and we saw you perform first live, so we know how good you are. But man, you always look good. I gotta tell you, you always look healthy. And I gotta ask you this first. Like I've seen you around town. You always look rested. Full of energy and vitality, Colin. You don't party too much, right? You strike me as someone that health is important to you.
Yeah, my health is important to me now. It hasn't always been important to me. It's been one of those things in the last year or so where I've kind of got a grip on it and started really caring about taking care of my body. And yeah, I do, man. I try to look out for it the best I can. I'm definitely still guilty of ordering some midnight pizzas every now
Yeah.
and then.
Oh man, absolutely. And here in Nashville, there's so many traps too. But yeah, absolutely. And love your story, Colin. I mean, obviously your musical DNA is fantastic. Your father, Greg Nash, your great grandpa, Dwayne Nash, and grandpa Steve Connors, always they had a banjo, or guitar around, and I love that. But your mother, Colin, I mean, I want to meet your mother because, her and her stepfather Richard, they had a really popular Elvis tribute show, right?
Yeah, that's a part of I guess the story that I don't get to talk about a lot. It never gets brought up. So that's very cool you bringing that up. But yeah, my mom, she has a beautiful voice, and my stepfather at that time was he did like the Elvis impersonation thing, and it wasn't like a birthday party sort of thing. It was like we would go play theaters around Missouri and sell them out a lot of times. He was very, very good. My
Yeah.
family was the band, and I was just always surrounded by it. I've been playing live on stage with a band now for almost 14 years, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I lost you. There you go. I lost your video for a
Yeah,
minute.
sorry about that.
No. You're good. Yeah, that's fascinating, dude. That you were doing this, and yeah, you can tell that you guys were really good. And how old were you, Colin, when you realized, wow, like I don't have a regular cookie cutter kind of family. Like my family can actually like play music, and like this is not normal, and we're good. Like, do you remember how old you were?
I would say probably about 14 or 15 when you get to that age where you start really caring what people think.
Mm,
Because up to that point, it was just normal to me. And
yeah.
I would go hang out with my friends, spend the night at their house, and none of their families or anybody played music. And that was strange to me because everybody in my family played music. That was our
Right.
way of hanging out. If you wanted to be involved in the conversation in the living room and part of the hang with the family, you had to learn how to play guitar. You had to learn how to sing harmony. You had to
Yeah.
do these
Yeah.
things to be a part.
Absolutely, man. I love that. And by the way, hey, Colin, I gotta tell you, I saw a clip of you playing an original song, "The Ride," you made for your great grandpa Dwayne. Man, that was great. I mean, this was like, 8, 9 years ago or something, but you could already see the songwriting chops that you were developing, and that's what I love about it. And but it got us thinking: how was it to go to high school, Colin, in Missouri, like in high school? And I'm talking about because you already knew that you wanted to be a musician. You already were like balancing all this stuff, and at the same time dealing with like the normal high school pressures, like just being a high school student. It seems like that must have been a lot or interesting, right?
It definitely was. I think that I had the benefit of really good friends, and I went to a school with a lot of really good people. And so there wasn't ever that. I feel like there's this bit of a stereotype where if you're the musician or if you're a band kid or something like that, you can get hazed and a little made fun of.
Mm,
And I was a little nervous about that. There was a lot of people that didn't know that I did what I did because I was an athlete in high school and played
nice.
on played baseball, basketball, and football, and was a pretty big player on all those teams. So it was kind of like the High School Musical thing, where it was kind of that sort of thing. But they were very supportive. I remember there was a little club there in Rolla, Missouri, and I had booked my first show there, and the owner had dropped off a bunch of flyers to my school without me knowing. And I came to school that day, and my face was on flyers everywhere, and I didn't know.
Wow.
And I wasn't going to really tell anybody. And then all of a sudden, it turned into this huge talking point. So, like, you're playing a show? I didn't know you played guitar. I didn't.
Nice.
So I was terrified that day, but then quickly realized when that show ended up happening, how many of my friends turned out to that, and how accepting that they were.
Hell yeah, man. And the
Uh,
girls, like, let's call it like the girls too, man. The
yeah,
girls love a man with guitar. That's when you start learning that.
yeah, that was when I started using the excuse to bring my guitar to school for English projects and
Ah,
stuff like that.
man, I
That's about that time.
should have picked the guitar. It'd be like more like Colin Nash in my next life, you know? Oh, dude, that's great, man. That's great. So, go to high school in Missouri. Right after high school, you're like, dude, college is not for me. Like, you just knew that. Like, why would you? You already knew your destiny, which obviously was the right call. You come to Nashville, but I'm curious how it was, those first 3, 4 months when you moved here, Colin. If you could just remember that first chapter when you moved here, because I mean, when I moved here, and I was older and all that, and it was still exciting. It was still a little overwhelming. Must have been the same for you, and like with all the talent here, like how were those first 3, 4 months here in Music City?
Well, absolutely. Overwhelming is a really good word for it.
Yeah.
Um, I grew up in a very rural part of Missouri,
Mhm.
so the culture shock of moving to a metropolitan area, I think, was the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Learning how to drive in that kind of traffic. I'm used to 2-lane roads and gravel roads, and now there's 4 lanes, and everybody's going 20 miles over the speed limit. And if it was just that was one thing.
Right.
And then as far as the music goes, I think that anybody who moves here, anybody even just in the business can attest to this, that you get here and you realize how good that everybody is. And whatever you came to town thinking that you could do, it kind of gets sucked out of you for a while, and you realize just how much better that you need to get.
Right. It's wild. Yeah. And by the way, let me tell you, you have more than like you're the real deal, and you have more than enough. Not that you need me to tell you that, but there is so much good talent here. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's kind of like it's crazy at the beginning, the shock. And speaking of talent, Colin, I mean, we met when I first saw you and when we first met, it's this event in Nashville, which has become like a go-to event, a monthly event here in Nashville. It's called the Peach Jam, right? And it is hosted by a friend of ours, Ben Chapman there, and Meg
Yeah.
McCree, and you're part of like an incredible band. And I kid you not, man. I mean, that place, the basement, when it's the most alive is when you guys are playing. It's nuts. There's like an energy in the room that is like no other act I've seen it like create transform it into that.
Wow.
But yeah, and many friends of ours, like Paul McDonald's plays with you guys, Britton Adam, of course, and Drake White and all that stuff. But how did you meet the great souls of Ben Chapman and Meg McCree there, Colin?
So we right now the event that we kind of all met at and started going to was, it's kind of not a thing right now, but it's about to come back. It's called Revival, and
Okay.
they used to have it at Tin Roof on Demumbrian there in Midtown.
Hmm.
And I had just started going because the guy who was running at the time, Vinny Paolizzi,
Yeah.
him and I worked at the Belmead Country Club together. And so he's like, hey, you need to come down and start being a part of this. And at that time, I was just a little bit disenchanted with it all and was like, I don't, I wasn't going out a whole lot. And I just decided to go down. And I think that the first night that I went to Revival was Ben's first night in town. And so
Wow.
Vinny introduced us. And when I say Ben looked like a baby, I mean, that kid looked 14 years old, had like no business being in that bar. There was no long hair.
Right.
Um, but he's always just been Ben. He's never changed for as good of a musician as he
Yeah.
is, because he's fantastic. He's an incredible person. And
Yeah.
that whole scene started all that. That's how I met Meg and Harper O'Neill and Nate Frederick. I mean, the list goes on. All of that kind of was curated in the Revival scene.
Yeah, yeah, and shout out to them as well. And Ben, same. I met him just as a human, as a great human with a big heart and a big soul. The rest came after, but I love him
Yeah.
like as a human. Oh man, I love it, Colin. Talk to us a little bit about the collaborations that you've done in this town besides Ben, because you've done some great stuff with people like Gabe Lee, who's a fantastic, artist as well. And man, it just going down the research hole with you, it's like going down through collaboration with the who's who of singer-songwriters in Nashville. And we figure we'd ask, man. I mean, you're connected to everybody. Love it.
Well, I think that all of it, most of it was curated through that early Revival scene. That's how I met Gabe. Um, because before I'd kind of got into that singer songwriter world,
Mm,
where I've never felt more comfortable in a scene, if you will. I was in the top 40 country world trying to break down that door, and that didn't
yeah.
come very naturally. But like you were talking about Gabe, Gabe and I met, I want to say probably 3 or 4 years ago, and just had a mutual love for string music, like bluegrass. And
Hmm.
he's always just been a one man band a lot of times, and so he had come up with this idea to put together a bluegrass outfit.
Mm,
Um, Ben Chapman was in that group playing acoustic, Meg McCree playing fiddle, and myself playing banjo. And that was when I really started getting close to Gabe and seeing just how good that he is. He's incredible as a lyricist. There just isn't a lot of people that can touch him right now. He's got songs that just blow me away.
yeah.
And he's always got something new. And you hear something like somebody will record a clip of the show, it'll be a new Gabe Lee song. It's like seeing a bootleg or something back in the
Right.
day. You're just like, what is that? That was just a verse. You know, that's, I want to know what the rest of that song says. And I've done I've played guitar for a number of different artists and met people through that. I used to play guitar for Johnny McGuire, who
Yeah.
is a more top 40 country artist. Um, and so, I've done a lot of collaboration with him, done a lot of live on the air stuff with him, and we've written a lot of songs together. And through him, and through all these artists that you get a chance to play for, you just start meeting people because they're at shows and you might be on the same bill, and you just make friends, and it just goes down the line
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I've just been lucky and been kind of in the right place, the right time a lot
Well, man,
here.
you're a great soul, man. That helps a lot, and that's probably our favorite thing about Nashville is what you just said. Those connections made for sure. Yeah, man. And you're being so good with your time. Really appreciate it, Colin. Gotta ask you about your trademark look, which right now you don't
Yeah.
have the hat. Right now you don't have the hat, which is a little disappointing, but it's okay. We'll give it a pass this time. But we'll edit it in here so our visual audience can see what we're talking about. But you just have a great look, man. Every time you step in with that like cowboy like kind of looking hat and the vest is like, here's Colin Nash, everybody. Just talk to us a little bit about the fashion and the look, and like inspired by what, or where did it come from?
Yeah, right now, and at least the last year or so, I've been really into spaghetti westerns. So
Mm.
obviously, all of Clint Eastwood's work, I just love. Fistful of Dollars and all that. I just started watching that with the hat and the denim and stuff. I've always been like a big denim head. Like I
Yeah.
kind of, it's my go-to. Um, and that hat actually, that's Ben's hat. That hat was made for Ben, and it doesn't quite
I
fit
think it's
him
your hat.
right.
Like, I'm sorry to
Yeah,
break
I
it to Ben
claimed
here.
it.
I think it's Colin's hat now.
I definitely claimed it. We were at the basement last night, and I was wearing it, of course. And I told Ben, I'm like, man, I'm sorry that I've pretty much just stolen this hat from you. I don't think you're getting it back, but if you want, I'll put property of Ben Chapman on the bill or something, you know.
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah, very, very inspired by spaghetti Western. And then the mid 60s Laurel Canyon scene. I love a lot of color.
Yeah.
Um, just kind of mixing those two worlds.
Right on. Right on, Colin. Well, listen, man, you've said it all. I know you got a busy day ahead. What is next as far as this album goes? Obviously, I won't give up on you. It's like a cracking first single, but what can we expect as far as like maybe some shows, maybe the EP? Like, what's going on?
So we're going to be doing a lot of stuff locally here in
Cool.
Nashville, doing a lot of shows this summer. I really believe in kind of local cultivation first, and I've never really done that, playing shows as an artist here in town. I've done little things here and there, songwriter rounds, but basically we're just going to be playing around here a lot. We're going to start, I Won't Give Up on You comes out May 25th.
Right.
And then I think we're going to do a single every month until the album comes out in September.
Awesome.
And then in the meantime, we've got lots of video stuff and just a kind of a full layout, if you will, going forward of
I love it.
getting ready to release this record.
I love it, Colin. Well, man, we'll be definitely supporting, and you should come by to the live show by the time the album comes around. You're more than welcome to come, man. But yeah,
I
man,
would love to.
thank you so much for your time, brother. It's a real pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk to you, to connect, and thank you so much for your time, Colin.
Hey, thank you so much, man. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Take care, man.